Hey guys, John Delaney here. We got a double doctor show. Dr. Christa, 8, right on time. You pop right in, Dr. Christa live. So we got double doctors that love DeSantis and can't stand Biden. So we're gonna have an incredible show tonight. We got Dr. Betsy Ease, Dr. Christa Kreminsky live, and we're gonna unpack the deadly Biden regime, and we're gonna unpack how you can protect yourself, stay out of the hospital. We're gonna expose the fake news. We're gonna expose everything about the COVID tests, the remdesivir, shutting down the monoclonal sites, just a fiasco. The N95 face diapers being sent out from the government now. You can't make up this complete disaster setup for your health. So we're excited tonight. So let me start in the let me read Dr. Betsy's bio first up there, and then I'm going to read Dr. Christa, and then we're going to unpack this show. And this is a show you guys are going to want to share, re-listen to. This is a matter of life or death. The Biden regime wants to kill you. That's what they did here in Florida. They want to remove DeSantis from office. They want to expose Florida, and that's why we do what we do. So Dr. Elizabeth Betsy Eads is a practicing physician in Ormond Beach, Florida for 25 years. She is board certified in family medicine.
Sorry. Not paying attention.
Krista, can you stay still? You're on camera, right? I know. Well, just so you guys know, unlike a lot of the COVID celebrity doctors, Dr. Betsy and Dr. Christa are practicing doctors. Dr. Christa was actually at her office. She goes, "I'll be home." You just flew home, right, Christa?
I did, and I had to grab a piece of paper to write stuff down.
So I literally talked to her. She goes, "I should be home by 8:30." We went live, and I said, "Christa will probably pop on." So during the commercial, I saw Christa pop on in studio. So that's why. You're all set now?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right. So here we go. So Dr. Betsy is board certified in family medicine, board eligible in geriatrics, AMDA certified, and a medical doctor for Kindred Hospice as well as Kindred Home Healthcare. She's an associate medical teaching physician for Florida State College of Medicine, Daytona campus, as well as Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. She's also an active guardianship evaluator for Volusia and Flagler County, which is in Florida, as well as assistant medical director for several SNF rehabs. Dr. Betsy is an active hospital physician, keyword active hospital physician.
That's right.
At Halifax, at Christa, you good?
I'm just agreeing.
You're agreeing? Okay, just a second. At Halifax Health Hospital, as well as Advent Hospital, Daytona Beach. And I want to read Christa's bio. And the reason why I'm doing this, these ladies are very smart, very intelligent, very active. They love each and every one. They love the country. They love people. This isn't a game. We're in an active war in this country. So Dr. Christa Kreminsky has a passion for nutrition, knowledge, and building the strongest body possible. Started decades ago. She has a bachelor's degree in chemistry, a doctorate in chiropractic medicine, and a fellowship in acupuncture and clinical nutrition. As the owner of a holistic medicine center, she designs personalized food. You have a record-breaking week, too, with people ordering your meals this week, right, Christa?
Yes, correct.
Rocking. Personalized food, nutrition, and fitness strategies. She also founded Dr. Christa's Secret Signature Recipes, a health-based meal delivery program, and author of a best-selling book, outselling my book, which gets aggravating. The book is just blowing out. A best-selling book, eight secrets that will destroy the pharmaceutical companies. So, ladies, welcome to the show, and I want to give you guys the introduction you both deserve, because this is a serious show, and we're gonna unpack the nonsense going on. I mean, it's absolutely just complete nonsense. It's deadly. So let's start with talk about the Biden regime. Betsy, I want to start off with you from the remdesivir effect. We did a whole show, and I know, Christa, you referenced it. You referenced her show numerous times when you spoke Tuesday night at the Trumpsters Tuesday Therapy Group. Let's talk about remdesivir being now allowed to be an outpatient, being administered by doctors for outpatient, meaning people can get the drug at home, which will kill people after. And then we're going to move into the monoclonal sites being shut down, Chris, and you can share all the patients you sent to them in Broward County. Okay, Betsy, just kind of share how deadly that is, remdesivir being administered.
Right. So the FDA has approved for emergency use in hospital outpatient setting as well as clinics, and it's going to be approved for physicians to order for home, which would be delivered by a licensed pharmacist and administered by a home healthcare nurse, which is quite dangerous. We know that remdesivir failed the Ebola trials. It killed 53% of those people. And we know it failed the Gilead trial. They had to stop that within 5 days due to 33% lethal sepsis, renal failure, liver failure, hypotension, and 8% of those people actually died in that study. And it also did not do well in the COVID studies. It was actually failed the COVID studies and was found not to be statistically, clinically beneficial for treatment of COVID. And the safety committee also did not choose remdesivir. It actually chose ivermectin. And the NIH actually wanted ivermectin as the preferred treatment. But of course, the evil Dr. Fauci wanted remdesivir, and he chose remdesivir. Not only did he choose it because it was quite expensive and would harm the most people, he also hoarded it. He bought all the supply up for a year. So this is a very dangerous drug. It's killing people in the hospital. They're infusing it over 5 days, because we know in studies past 5 days it killed 53% of the people. So it's causing renal failure, pulmonary edema. It's causing people to basically drown and go into renal failure. It's absolutely killing people. There's no reason to be using this.
There's no reason to be using it at all. Now, so let's tie this together. Last Wednesday, a week ago, 6 days ago, or 8 days ago, they introduced the free COVID test, where every American can call and get 4 of these deadly tests sent to their house. I did a whole show with Dr. Betsy about this test also. And so make sure you guys, we'll go through how to watch all the replays. You guys obviously know how to connect with all the replays through our podcast channel and our website and our channel and so forth. But so last Wednesday, they gave out the free test. And then we didn't know, within 48 hours, they then make remdesivir available to be outpatient. And then as of yesterday, the Supreme Court last week, they upheld the court case that healthcare workers have to be vaxxed to work in the hospital. So you have people leaving now, making a fake scenario that there isn't enough workers in the ICU, so that they're gonna make them believe that the ICU is jam-packed with people sick with COVID, and they're not. It's because they got shortage of staff. So you got the fake test going out. You got remdesivir becoming I would never thought in my life they'd be giving remdesivir on an outpatient to people. And then you got, I know, Christa, this is when we spoke together, Trump says Tuesday therapy, and I was in rare form. It was just, we the people are pissed message. Right. Biden's murdering people. How did you feel, Christa? Because you sent close to 300 to 500 of your patients to the monoclonal sites in Broward County, correct?
Since they've been open, yeah. And even just in the last couple of weeks, probably 30. People calling, and again, like I said, people don't know what to do. They don't feel well. They wake up, they get sick. Their primary doctors don't want to see them. Hospitals people know enough, thankfully, not to go to the hospital first. Or they go to a walk-in clinic. What do they do? And just having that option of sending them right to that site was really beautiful. They can get some type of treatment and then just return home and get better. There was no reason to even, at that point, even go to a walk-in emergency center or a walk-in clinic or the emergency room. So they were, and everybody I sent there, nobody ended up in the hospital.
Say it again, please.
Right. And I was infusing Regeneron right at my nursing home centers. So I was keeping people out of the hospital with early treatment and Regeneron right there in the nursing homes. And so it was playing a vital role in keeping hospital caseloads down. So very, very important therapeutic.
And then DeSantis shuts it down, and you were in Broward County, Dr. Christa, and you said now this. Look at the math. Just designing the recipe for murdering people. They're right. They want to murder people in Florida and around the country, and then they want to make sure because the whole goal is to get DeSantis out. Like, guys, get ready. We're going to be making an announcement for an event. With Dr. Christa will be there, Dr. Betsy will be there. Christa, you were obviously been around me for years. Betsy, we met obviously recently, and now we're very, very close. You're one of the inner circle doctors, and it's a rarity. I'll bring another doctor onto my show because they have there's so many fake ones out there. The point being, we're going to do another Keep Your State Red event because we have to keep Florida red, because this is because you see yesterday with the Surgeon General, when the Democrats walked out on him all masked up, and they said, he accurately answered their questions. But Dr. Christa, so back to you on that. What went through your mind when you obviously run a holistic practice, you've never had a patient end up in a hospital, your business literally quadrupled in Broward County. Those of you around the country, Broward County is like the most corrupt county in the state of Florida. That's where they stole the election way back when. They're going to try to do it again here. But what went through your mind when you heard that? Because we were literally live Tuesday. Most people in the room didn't even hear it. Like they were like,
Right.
what?
Right.
So what went through your heart about that being shut down? Like, what do you think the motive was behind that?
I mean, I think the motive is quite obvious. The motive obviously is to just really restrict access to therapeutics that work. I mean, their big excuse as to why they did that was because they can't be sure that monoclonal antibodies work on this current variant, whatever the current variant is. But I mean, with that same reasoning, then why do the vaccine? Because obviously the vaccine's not protecting anybody either. So it's just pure. I think about some of the people that called not like sick and not feeling good, and I don't know where to go. And that was just an ability to help people regardless of didn't matter your ability to pay or what insurance you had. You were able to go and receive care. And to have that taken away from people who are sick, I think it's pure political, is disgusting. I mean, it's really disgusting.
And then Dr. Betsy, back to you. I mean, share everyone, like you're saying, like you're administering because you're an active doctor in hospice with your patients in nursing homes. So what's the scenario now? Like, what's the situation now with that?
So the situation with the monoclonal antibodies is that the FDA has canceled the emergency use authorization for Regeneron. And Regeneron was the primary monoclonal antibody that was being given outpatient. We have 2 monoclonal antibodies that are available through Advent hospitals in the state. And that's Sotrovimab, and the other is Evusheld. So there are 2. One is for prophylaxis, which you can get at Advent hospitals as an outpatient. And it's going to be very restrictive, though. There's going to be limited access. And one is for high risk inpatient use, which they say covers Omicron. But listen, let me tell people about these variants. These variants have not been isolated in any hospital. None of the testing equipment, whether it's PCR, which is now outlawed, or antigen testing, they cannot tell the difference between the common cold and influenza. They are not looking at sequences of variants. And if you walk into your local hospital and you ask them, are you testing for the Omicron variant? Insane. They're going to laugh at you. There's no such test. Right. Those sequences have to be done at CDC or have to be done at one of the military bases. You can't just sequence something. It takes years to grow that in animal tissue. The variants are a joke. Where the variants are coming from vaccinated people who are getting injected with virus, and they're being exposed to viruses because their immune system is shot from taking the vax. That's the truth.
And that's like when we got back Tuesday night, because what we do with the Conservative Business Journal, we actually have to watch the fake news so we can report the real news. And we got home Tuesday night, I thought I was pissed off. Make sure you watch my message. It's available on Rumble and Cloud Hub and our podcast platform. It's titled "We the People Are Pissed." Because look, the Biden regime wants to murder people and they want to get Florida. They want to expose DeSantis as much as humanly possible. I mean, it's amazing what they did. Free tests going out, remdesivir, drug dealing from the government to people, shutting down the monoclonal sites, and then all of a sudden the new hard to detect stealth Omicron variant spreads throughout America. And all they want to do is shut down the economy. Obviously, I wrote the book in capitalism. They want to shut down the ability for people to be able to earn income, run their lives in America. And it's just mind-boggling. But something you said, Christa, you said on Tuesday night when you were speaking, you said, look, this virus will be with us forever. It's a virus. It's a low-strand variant. And you've had many patients come to you, and because Broward County is brutal, as you could imagine, Betsy. Broward County is just brutal. Like there were many primary care doctors that wouldn't see people, even if they had like any sign of potential COVID, even a flu, they were coming to see you, and you're like, this is just a low strand virus. So share everyone what you shared that night. Then we'll talk about. I love you talk about the hydration, and the whole room is like, that's right, with the three IV bags. So talk about how you talked about that Tuesday night, where this virus will be. It's a low strand virus. It just will be with us like the flu is with us.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, this idea that, and it's quite sad. I mean, I kind of wallow between, like, people are just being ridiculously stupid, and then feeling bad for people who are just so fearful of, that they're listening to anything. But the reality is I mean, it's a virus. Of course it's going to be here. There's no, I mean, maybe Dr. Betsy knows this better than I do. Has there ever been a virus that we've completely eradicated that's brand new and then we eradicate it in 3 months? I mean, the idea that we're going to get rid of this by putting a mask on our faces and staying inside and taking a therapeutic that they're trying, or a bioweapon that they're trying to call a vaccine, is insanity. That is not even possible. And it's never going to happen. This thing's going to be here, but it's not. I mean, the threat isn't the virus. The threat is really people's current health status. This virus is destroying people who are unhealthy.
Exactly.
It's destroying people who have kidney disease and type 2 diabetes and who are obese. And if you don't fall into if you don't fall into those categories, if you're a relatively healthy person, you need to just go on with your life. And that's really, so we're worrying about a virus that's going to be here for decades. And yet we should be worrying about the other comorbidities that really are the crook of health. I mean, that's what's going to kill people. And people have put that in the backs of their minds. I mean, they're afraid of the wind right now, instead of being afraid of the fact that their kidneys are shutting down. And it's amazing.
And like you said you got to address your pre-existing conditions. If you have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, kidney disease, high cholesterol, if you're on any medications, you need to discuss an exit strategy with your doctor. If your doctor does not believe in medications, or like you said, the medications are only crisis management and not meant for a lifetime, it's time to find a new doctor. And that was really the message of your book, was to get people to exit them off.
Right.
Whatever meds you're on, you can stay on those, but let's heal your body and heal the problem. That was when you wrote this book 4 years ago. It was about getting people off meds and getting the body healthy and getting the body to repair itself. And we'll come back to that in a second. But Dr. Betsy, so talk about that. About it's got to drive you crazy. Especially you are in the high risk age bracket. Like your average patient is what, 70, 80?
Right. Yeah. The majority of my practice is geriatrics. I mean, I do a lot of nursing home. I do a lot of hospice. I do a lot of home health care visits, and they're all geriatrics. So 65 and up. Probably the average age is 75, 80. And almost all of my hospital is admissions from nursing home, hospice, home health care. So they all have pre-existing conditions. And as a geriatric specialist, one of the things I work hard to do is to get my geriatric patients off prescription medications. I'm AMDA certified. I'm a certified medical director for nursing home, and that is one of our big functions is to stop prescription medications and to get the elderly address more of their nutrition and their activity and quality of life. And that's where my focus is.
And
my focus is also keeping them out of the hospital.
And you never put in a death certificate COVID, correct?
I have never written COVID on a death certificate. I have not lost a patient I've treated for COVID to death. I had one patient that was on dialysis that later developed pneumonia in the hospital receiving dialysis, but I have not lost a case. And I have written and cared for close to 4,000 people now with COVID using appropriate therapeutics: ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, quercetin, NAC, vitamin D, zinc, vitamin C, high doses of vitamin D, Zithromax and doxycycline. I've used Regeneron, and I've infused it, not just in people's homes under my direction, under home health care, but in the nursing home. If you can keep people out of the hospital, you're not going to be killed with the CDC killer protocol. That's the bottom line.
I mean, the CDC kills people. The CDC protocol kills people. And all these. And when you watch Channel 25 News or Channel 5 News, we must watch that. You would think people walk out the door, right, Christy? And they're just dropping dead. Like, oh my God. Like that person just dropped dead because they walked in front of somebody without a mask. Like, bam, COVID. Bam, COVID.
It is. According to the media, it's the zombie apocalypse. It's just not true.
And the mask, now you got Biden sending out 400 million stock masks. You look like an idiot when you walk out of your house like that. You got to be, look, those of you that wear and your ears look like Dumbo, or not Dumbo, what's the ears in the Dumbo ears, because you wear them so tight, especially the guys, the real fat guys my age that have a type 2 diabetes. Like we're saying that, but look, wake up. If you got type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, you're 55, 56, banging a man belly, expecting 6 babies, wake up, read Chris's book, eat some live food, move your bowels, clean yourself out, get yourself healthy, and you ain't gonna worry about nothing. That's not nice, John. Maybe you need to hear it. Maybe you do need to hear it. It's like, this is like Pastor Greg Locke is catching a lot of heat this week about deliverance. I love my man, Pastor Greg Locke. I watch all the services. He's delivering demons out of Christians. He's catching heat. I will catch the heat to tell the truth, because this is Christa knows me. When you first saw me speak, Chris, you saw me speak at a business seminar on Boca Raton. I talk about my brother, I believe, was killed by doctors when I was 11. And I was 14. Okay. I mean, I just knew it for years. I've been warming up to it. I get so wound up because the government is sending 400 million masks out to people, along with free tests that are 90% false positive. And I just had a young lady, I was on her show today, Hannah. I'm going to introduce Dr. Christa and Dr. Betsy to Hannah. I've been on the show for the second time. She runs the Red Patriot Show, and she goes to University of Kentucky. She's 22, and she chose not to go to school this semester because in the University of Kentucky, you have to either be vaxxed, proven vaccination, or you have to take a COVID test once a week, and she won't put the swab up her nose. That's a kid taking a stance.
That is.
I mean, in America, in a university, it's amazing, and I'm gonna have her on my show just to talk about that. But it's amazing to see we got to this point because people comply. Now, Christa, you said something Tuesday, and we were at Trump's Tuesday therapy. Our boy, Uncle Eddie. How awesome is Eddie?
He's awesome.
He's out of his mind. With the signs, it's great. You support Biden, don't eat here. I don't want you in my business. It's great. I say if everybody did what Eddie did, we wouldn't have this problem.
That's right.
If everybody just stands for what they believe in, we wouldn't be in this problem. Like, look, take the mask off, stop taking a test, stop complying at all. Just take the crap off. COVID's a joke. Remdesivir will kill you. And take these shows and share it. Like we talk about, yes, this may upset you, but maybe that's what you need to change. Maybe you need to be challenged, or else they're going to get you. I mean, they're in a war. So, Sarah, everyone, you talked about, and they sent this out on Trump's Tuesday therapy. I'm going to send this out to our full list. And I'm going to recognize we had a record break. And Christy, do you even know what came in today? Quercetin and everything? You don't even know what went on with NAC and quercetin and your books. That's why I said, wait to hear all the orders. Like I'm so excited. It's almost 18 different states around the country.
That's awesome.
I mean, on a conservative marketplace today. And so you talked about hydration. Just talk about the example you did in the hospital. You heard a resounding like, wow, in the room. Just talk about that, because that's like your core basic fundamental. It's kind of like your son playing baseball. If you don't got a baseball in baseball, it ain't happening.
You're not going to get too far. Yeah, I mean, hydration really is just, it's just the essential. You cannot, it's just impossible to be healthy, or even it's really impossible to be unhealthy on a ton of medications. When you're dehydrated, the body just won't function. And eventually it just leads to disease after disease after disease. So you can't, I mean, without it. And I at that great meet at the great Trumpsters Tuesday, I was talking to people too, more about supplements. Like, everyone wants to take a supplement for something. If you're not hydrated, it doesn't matter. Don't waste your money. Like, you have to be hydrated. But what you're referring to is, I said to people, I go, it's interesting. Chronic dehydration is such a significant problem, especially, I mean, with everybody, but especially in like a vulnerable group, anybody over 45, 50, especially in the senior population over 65, nobody drinks water at all. And so, you end up in the hospital for what maybe, think is a heart attack. And the very first thing that they're going to do is hang an IV of fluid. And it's amazing how much better you feel within an hour of just having pushed fluids in your body. And it's just really, it really just kind of circles around to that point of chronic dehydration is really at the root of a lot of issues for people. And people just don't want to face it. They don't. I have to laugh at adults that tell me I hate water. I don't. I mean, you can't hate water. I mean, yeah, I understand maybe it's not the most pleasurable part of your day, but you do have to drink. You do have to drink water, and hydration is key. And if people aren't going to even address that, then don't address anything, because that is, for I would say 99% of people, that is at the root of a lot of it.
And it's interesting too. Now I'm scrolling through your book to find the actual page. I haven't found it yet. But this is years ago, you wrote this. We have such a choice of people think liquids, like Gatorade is not water,
Right.
Red Bull is not water, Monster is not water. So share, because you obviously come from a sports background, Dr. Christa, and all your boys with the sports. Just talk about Gatorade and why it's colored and the chemicals in there, because people think, well, I mean, I saw a doctor on a show going, one of the COVID celebrities, look, you got to drink at least 2 bottles of Gatorade a day. The electrolytes will protect you from the COVID strand. And she's on our side. She's quote unquote a conservative, but has no friggin' clue. She's telling people to drink 2 bottles of Gatorade. So Christa, break down because you go through the whole thing about phosphate chemicals, all the crap that's in, you talk about in your book. So just break that down, and then I'm going to throw back to Betsy with another question. So Christa, break down the variety of liquids that are not liquids.
Yeah, I mean, Gatorade is it's horrible. I mean, maybe in its inception back in the late 60s, it was a good idea and it was different, but the product that's out there today is probably worse for you than most sodas. Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of the dyes that are in that, and all of every single Gatorade has, even the clear, which I found amazingly crazy, even the clear Gatorades have dye in them. And that dye is petroleum based. I mean, artificial dyes that actually are in foods and in soda actually are based in petroleum. Yep. That's not a good thing for the body. There's artificial sweeteners, which are horribly dehydrating. They are nervous system irritants. So they're going to, if you have any nervous system issue whatsoever, it's going to aggravate you. And there really isn't, I mean, they use artificial sweeteners, no form of glucose. So there's no actual balance of glucose and sodium and potassium. And, so there's no electrolytes actually in them. They use sodium. Sodium actually ends up binding to the artificial coloring in them. So you never even get any sodium out of it. So there's just no value. And people will drink that, especially kids. I know we're talking about COVID today, but especially kids in sports. So many parents think they're doing the right thing by offering their children Gatorade or offering their kids sports teams Gatorade. They just need water. Unless they're actually an endurance athlete, when they're out in the sun for 6 hours, maybe a banana and maybe some other type of electrolyte replacement, but they just simply need water. They're hungry.
You don't see that in elite athletes. They're eating electrolyte paste and bananas and water. That's what. And
I said, John, you and I have had this discussion with. I mean, we've had some professional athletes come through. Obviously our doors, and even some of the Division I athletes in college, and they don't have, I mean, the professional level athletes they may have a Gatorade bottle, but I promise you what's inside of that bottle is certainly not Gatorade, and it is nothing artificial. It's just, they're not going to do that.
And this is so important in a day and age where there's no conversation about basic fundamentals. This is the basic fundamentals. And I tell you one more story, Christa, and I'll throw it back to you, Betsy, real quick. Christa, tell the story about the young boy that came in your office with the mom, and it was a dad, I think, with 3 kids, and it had the first bowel movement, and how long, because they're actually drinking water versus they were always just drinking Gatorade.
Yeah. So dad would have to pick these boys up from school, and I love them. They were I think it was 8, 10, and 12. So they're just at that age where they were completely out of control, which was awesome. I'm used to 2 boys being out of control, so it was great. So dad would bring them in and they would have to sit in the waiting room. So my assistant, to get them to sit there quietly, would give them each a cup of water, and then they would have to count their sips and who drank the most. And so we had this water game going with them, just so they would stay occupied long enough in the waiting room so dad can go get treated. And after about a week or 2 of coming in, he asked, "What are you doing to them?" And I got a little, "What do you mean, what are we doing to them?" And he said, "My wife wants to know what are you doing to them so we can do it at home." And I said, "Well, we're not doing anything to them." He goes, "You don't understand. We get home from your office when they come with me," which was maybe a couple of times a week for a couple of weeks. He said, "We're getting home, and within an hour they run to the bathroom, and he goes, they poop like never before." He goes, "We can't get these kids to poop at all." And he goes, "And they come home from your office and they're racing for the bathroom within an hour." He goes, "It's the greatest thing ever. What do you give them? And I'm like,
Amazing.
water. Like they have like maybe they would each have maybe 2, 3, 4 like small glasses of water or a bottle of water, whatever we gave them that day to. But we just simply hydrated them for 45 minutes, and they would run home and they would fight for the bathroom. But I mean, as simple as that. Like when kids that age, and I mean, healthy kids running around, active. There's nothing seemingly wrong with them, but here are these kids like they weren't going to the bathroom because they weren't water.
And we're talking about basic fundamentals. This is the basic fundamental show tonight, unpacking what the Biden regime is doing. Now, Dr. Betsy, this is a perfect tie-in. These are being offered for free. They're being now 95 million Americans have called. I actually punked you and got you to call the 800 number on this, right? To order your kit. I knew you were sleeping. I texted at 800. I said, call this person, help them out. They're friends of mine. She called the 800 number, and it was the free COVID test line.
Now they have my number.
That's right. But let's take someone who's dehydrated, who's listening to the fear, wearing a mask, and then I want you to unpack. And you did a phenomenal job. Obviously, this is kind of a recap show, the best of both of you. What happens when you stick this into a dehydrated brain that's watching fake news and they're wearing a mask and they're eating like crap? What's in this Q-tip, please, Dr. Betsy?
So the Q-tip has been analyzed and found to have ethylene oxide, nanofibers. Some of them had parasites. And the solution that comes with that kit has sodium azide, which is a carcinogen. So some of the tips have actually even been coated in sodium azide. So the solution that you put on after you swab your nose is sodium azide. That gets on your hands, that gets on your face and your eyes and your mucosa. That's a carcinogen. That can cause cancer. So when you stick that swab in your nose and you get close to the blood-brain barrier, which you can with the swab, there is a pathway to go right up into the cerebral spinal fluid. And then you have an olfactory nerve right there behind your eyes in the brain. And if you have a virus or you have a parasite or you have ethylene oxide or nano on that, it's going to track along the olfactory nerve right into the brain. Also, constantly testing is causing serious sinus infections, bacterial infections that are resistant to antibiotics, fungal infections that are resistant to antifungals. They are lasting 2 to 3 weeks at a time. Doctors are having a heck of a time trying to treat healthcare workers and workers who are testing daily or testing weekly. They are dangerous. There are safer ways to test. You can do a spit test, a saliva test. You don't need to be sticking that up your nose and causing trauma to your brain.
And guys, and you look at this now, what Biden is doing. Now you got the healthcare workers, and there's certain things, we don't have to share names or anything, but you've heard some stuff, Christa, recently about some of the ICU hospitals in South Florida, right? They're very low staff, correct? You don't have to share any names or anybody specifically, but for a fact that there's hospitals that are ICU beds are open,
right,
but they're not staffed. Guys, we're talking about the deadly Biden regime. When you look at the free tests going out, remdesivir being administered outpatient wise, the monoclonal sites being shut down, and masks being sent out. Look what they're doing. Let this sink in, everyone. Look at the recipe for disaster for a 99.9% low strand virus. Meanwhile, you got more people dying of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, smoking, and you got people because they don't go to the bathroom for 3-4 days because they eat like crap. They don't crap, and they got the colon C word, CANCR. That's the worst disease going on right now because of the eating processes. But so talk about that with the staffing issues going on, Christa, with that. And this is part of the equation to scare people.
Yeah, somebody who's in charge of one of the PACUs at one of the bigger hospitals down here in Broward, who came into my office and said, they were, and I don't think, people don't realize when they hear hospitals, they just think people, and they hear issues in hospitals, they're thinking, oh, it just has to do with, these people who aren't vaccinated, who who have COVID. And, she's in a PACU, so she's getting people coming out of surgeries and traumas coming into a hospital. And she said that they had 6 beds in the ICU that were open and available, but no staff for them. So they couldn't send people from where they were in her unit up to the ICU. And she said, some of them were coming out like they were major surgeries that needed obviously ICU attention. And she said, so we're holding them in an area that's not the best. It's not the best quality care for that person. And she said, it's strictly staffing. And she said that it's a strictly staffing issue throughout the entire hospital. So even in terms of admissions and different things like that, she said, we're just seeing such a crunch. She said her particular complaint was with the ICU. She said, but they've been experiencing that now for a couple weeks. They just don't have enough nurses to staff properly the ICU. And then I had another person tell me the exact same thing in another hospital in Broward, same thing. They have open beds that they just simply can't staff.
So let's look at this. This is why we're doing it, the CBJ Real News Podcast Show. What we do in the Conservative Business Journal, we give you the real news. That's what we do. Look at the equation. I'm going to get you guys, as I always say, take notes in my shows, write this down. You got hundreds of millions of tests going out for free, 4 per household. 48 hours later, remdesivir is now given by the government outpatient wise. The Supreme Court upholds the vax mandate requirements for healthcare workers. Tuesday in Florida, they shut down all the monoclonal sites. And now you got 400 million N95 masks going out. Do you see what they're trying to do? They're not stopping. There's no 15 days to flatten the curve. It's 2 friggin' years. We are on a communist regime to murder and kill people. We had some people ask, and I'm going to go through a commercial break here. And I got a great question for Betsy coming up. But you guys can visit conservativemarketplace.com, conservativemarketplace.com under health supplements. I'm going to break down exactly what you gave out Tuesday night, Christa, at the event about the quercetin, how many milligrams per day, the vitamin C, the zinc, the vitamin D, the NAC. It's all available on conservativemarketplace.com, health supplements. And then I'm going to go through all the past shows. You guys, make sure you visit conservativebusinessjournal.com on podcast, library of episodes. Go on to EADS for Dr. Betsy. You'll see alphabetical order. I think there's 10 shows. Same for Dr. Christa, 9 or 10 shows. Both of their incredible presentations. And they're both running neck to neck, by the way. You guys are out downloading. Tom Homan, you're out downloading. Karen Kingston, you both are actually, because I watch the downloads, right, Christy? So their presentations are also on a podcast app. We're doing a real news. Share this. You have loved ones you care about. You can't make up this equation in the last 7 days. This is 7 days. Remdesivir, masks, test, monoclonal sites shut down. You can't make this up. It's not just coincident. It happened within a week. So, Dr. Betsy, I want to ask you a question, which is very powerful. When you look at the staffing issues and the hospital issues, you actually walked away from something here in Florida that you were getting really pissed off about their COVID stuff. So share everyone kind of your stance, how strong you are. You're a doctor making a decision. It's very powerful. People have to take a stance in their life.
So I was up to renew my dues for Florida Medical Association. I've been a member since I've been a licensed physician in Florida. I was a AMA delegate from Florida Medical Association to the AMA delegation for 2 terms. And this is the first time I took a stand against Florida Medical Association. They were promoting the jab for everyone, including healthcare workers. They were promoting masks for healthcare workers. And I took a stand at our last House of Delegates. I said I would not be renewing my membership until they supported the science. They are not supporting the science. And John, I just want to add something else that just rolled out this week that I don't think is getting much press, is the Paxlovid, which is the oral COVID-19 tablet that's going to be rolling into pharmacies. Yet another way to harm people. It's an HIV, it's a protease inhibitor. It's an HIV repurposed medicine. It actually has a ton of side effects. It interacts with a whole lot of medicines. from statins to seizure medicines to stomach medicines such as H2 blockers and proton inhibitors. It's a very dangerous drug. It can cause liver failure, renal failure, and immune suppression. So that's yet another way Merck and Pfizer are going to harm people with a totally unproven,
But it's coming
without
soon. It's an
double-blinded
all-inclusive
study.
pill. It's coming soon. It's all over the regular news. Channel 25 coming soon. Shh, they see the red coming out of the machine. Shh, coming soon. Go to CVS. Get the red pill. They'll say the red pill. Get red pilled. Get the red pill, and get your mask for free. I mean, guys, you can't look. You can't make this up. And most conservatives, I heard something today. I'm going to wait. I'm going to bust this out probably tomorrow. I heard a very well-known conservative group have complied. They're either getting vaxxed or wearing a mask just to stay in something. Right, Christy? It'll start a 3-hour conversation if I release it today. I'm probably going to do a solo show tomorrow on it. Look, communism, and I was interviewed twice today. And one of my interviews, I broke the word communism down. Then we're going to go on a commercial break. Communism, I break everything down in acronyms. The letter C in communism begins with comply. If you comply, the letter O is over. If you comply, it's over for you. Just wearing a mask. And what you did, Dr. Betsy, took a stance. What you did, Dr. Christa, many years ago, I remember we had a situation where a medical doctor was worried for your safety on this. Call him Big Pharma up. And you're in the process of writing your second book, even a deeper book about Big Pharma.
Right.
So, because in medical, these big pharma companies want to kill people. Look, you can't make this up in 7 days. I'm going to repeat that 10 more times tonight. Who would have thought 2 weeks ago we'd be on a show talking about the monoclonal sites being shut down, Remdesivir being outpatient, Supreme Court holding up the vax mandates, and Biden sending out 90 million free COVID tests with this thing sticking up your nose. If even just 2 weeks ago we said that, you'd be like, no. It gets crazy about it because the devil will keep going until we destroy him. So it is so important. So before we continue, I do want to do station identification. Guys, I am so excited for so many of you, and I want to put a site up. I want you guys to make sure you visit conservativemarketplace.com. Conservativemarketplace.com. I just covered up. Christa is right. Christa is like the conservative marketplace. Her head's right on top of it. Conservativemarketplace.com. I'll tell you, and I'm so excited for all of you around the country. You know, congratulations. You're supporting conservative businesses. And most importantly, I talk about capitalism. You're winning. I'm going to give a huge round of applause to Jennifer from Maine, who grabbed the hold of the vitamin C from nature, the 270 count, the kids immune shield, the Metagenics, the zinc 3060 caps, the NAC, the quercetin. Jennifer from Maine, congratulations. The guys, conservativemarketplace.com. 5% of all the proceeds goes to Heartbeat of Miami, and we have an enormous amount of categories. We're highlighting health supplements tonight. Fran from Florida, congratulations on grabbing a hold of Christa's book, The 8 Secrets to Destroy the Pharmaceutical Companies. And then congratulations to Sandra, fellow full-blooded Italian. I met her Tuesday night. I love your shirt, Sandra. She grabbed a hold of the Patriotic American Cross pin early this morning, about 5 a.m. She was on the marketplace. And then Rose from Montana grabbed a hold of some NAC and Dr. Christa's book. Who would have thought your book's going to Montana, right, Christa?
I know, it's awesome.
Montana, Maine, everywhere. And then Richard from Richard is from, his address got cut off. Richard grabbed a hold of NAC, the quercetin, and the Metagenics D3 10,000 plus K, which those are the ones you ship right from your office, right, Dr. Christa?
Correct.
And that's all available on conservativemarketplace.com. And then Sherry from Florida grabbed a hold of the quercetin, and then Rich is from West Virginia. Awesome. And then Caroline from Colorado, you'll be shipping out some quercetin to Colorado, Christa, and some NAC. And Philip from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. I believe we met Philip on Tuesday night. Philip grabbed a hold of the quercetin. And then Marisol, our number one supporter from Orlando, Marisol grabbed a hold of the quercetin. And then Vonda from Pennsylvania, we met at Fran's event way back when. It came down to our event, grabbed a hold of the We the People Are Pissed hat. So nice. off the hats category. And then Tammy from Arizona grabbed a hold of the We the People Fight Back event t-shirt, which is pretty awesome. Sending one of these shirts out to her, the John Lemon We the People Fight Back event shirt. And then a back says American Patriot. People loving the shirt, going out everywhere. We have them in hoodies and t-shirts. I know Dr. Betsy ordered them in long sleeve t-shirts. And also she ordered, Tammy ordered the Fate Stands in Fear on women's relaxed t-shirt and Dr. Chris's book. If you notice, I have not mentioned my book. Somebody buy my book, please. It's really good. It's Making Housing Great Again. It's printed in America. It's on the books. It's pretty awesome. And then Susanna from Maryland, you say, John, man, I'm recognizing people that are making a decision that are taking health to the next level. Christa, show your cup again. You got the Fate Stands of Fear On cup.
I do.
It's available. Conservativemarketplace.com. Fate Stands of Fear On full line. It's awesome. Favorite cup. And that's how exciting is this, right, Christy? See, when we got shut down on YouTube, banned on YouTube, all the monetary revenue was destroyed on YouTube. And Google Ads shut us down. We had no revenue. And God gave me the vision to conservative marketplace. Now, because of that, look at all the lives. Look at the health we're changing. Look at the Kirstenton going out, the NAC going out, the vitamin C, the D, Christa's books. It's pretty awesome. And then Lynette from Florida grabbed a hold of some Kirstenton. And then Kathleen from Florida grabbed a hold of some Kirstenton and some NAC. And then Peggy grabbed a hold of I just released my republished, those of you that are in network marketing. And we met Peggy Tuesday night. Peggy's awesome. Peggy grabbed a hold of the new book. I just published this, republished it. It's the 8 fundamentals to earn $1 million in network marketing plus a top 10 recruiting tips. If anyone's in MLM network marketing, great book to grab a hold of. That's on the books on the conservative marketplace, and the red, white, and blue earrings. And then the NAC also from Peggy. It was great meeting you. And then then Darlene from Michigan. We are getting Michigan, some NAC. And then Carol from Louisiana, Kirsten, Dr. Chris's book, We the People, lapel pin, large crystal America. I should wear earrings on the show. Large earrings. And then the beautiful flag, the flag pin, and then the Fresh Air Valero Mobile. So this has been a record-breaking day. And I want to give you guys a round of applause, Dr. Betsy, Dr. Christa, and all of you that this is how we fight back, right? How exciting is that? They can't shut that down. We're in America. Like when I had Sheriff Sheriff Mack on last night. Tremendous show about the Constitution and the strength of the Constitution. So I get excited about that. Guys, visit conservativemarketplace.com. Any questions, call or text us at 561-847-3467. And we will be announcing the day. We may be moving it from Saturday, March 5th, and I'll talk to Christy and Betsy about that tonight after the show, because we may be moving it from that day to another day. We'll tell you why, about a Keep State Red event. It's going to be, Christa will be speaking at it, so will Betsy be speaking at it. But I get so excited about that because that's how they can't destroy us, because there's more of us than them. So back to the show, guys. That was our 4-minute commercial break. How exciting is that, Christy, right? So guys, visit conservativemarketplace.com and make sure you share this show. Make sure you go through. And I want to recognize Sam. Sam is the fire captain here in Florida, Palm Beach for 30 years. He right before he went live, he invested in 250 of the Let's Go Brandon vaccination cards, which are available on conservativemarketplace.com. So Sam is giving them out. Some of you Sam was actually the lead fireman in DC this weekend at the anti-vaxxer, quote unquote, event that went on. He was there with all the firemen from around the world, and he was a lead speaker there. Sam Eaton. So Sam's awesome. Dr. Betsy, back to you. You're awesome.
Just want to give another plug.
Thank you.
And I tell people too, Dr. Christa, chapter 7 of her book, the best recipes ever. Unlike the recipe from the government to kill people, you got the best recipes. Fuel your body, feed your body. When we talked about the shot, I want to ask you a question, Dr. Betsy. When you first saw the shot come out, the jab, and that's why when we say it's a bioweapon, can you explain why it's a bioweapon?
Well, the Moderna and the Pfizer are not vaccines. They're not typical classified vaccines. They're mRNA lipid nano delivery systems. And they're delivering spike protein, which is not only a virus, but it's a bioweapon. And they're delivering the makings of an operating system, an AI operating system. So that's graphene oxide and nanoparticles that organize within the body, under the body's heat. It can be tracked by Bluetooth and can be controlled by 5G, 4G, EMF. And
I want to check
they're
for a second,
bioweapons. They're
I want to check
patented
because you talk about the body
bioweapons.
heat, and we have a product called Zeolite. We have an immune building system. There's 3 products together: Zeolite, Crack Cell Chlorella, and a Zinc Aid. That's on concertedmarketplace.com on their immune building system. But you said something very important, Dr. Betsy. You said under the body's heat, the body
Yes.
actually becomes the kind of the oven for this. This is huge. So everyone
Yes.
listen to this. It becomes the oven for this bioweapon. Please unpack it a little bit more. Then, Chris, I got a great question for you about the jab, as we say.
So many epidemiologists, virologists, and scientists have discovered that there is both graphene oxide and graphene hydroxide being injected. The difference is the graphene hydroxide is very sharp metal, and it's slicing and dicing through blood vessels. So that's why you're seeing a lot of acute deaths, and those are from the blood clots and the bleeds that are occurring. Then there's graphene oxide, which is the building blocks of the sheets that unfold into these operating systems. Karen Kingston laid that out. She laid out the patents. She laid out the pictures of how these organize into groups of graphene that are interconnected in sheets and that later will form this AI system. But the other thing that the body heat does is the graphene comes in contact with these parasite eggs in some of the vaccines, and a parasite actually hatches and grows.
You said parasite
parasites.
egg.
These are the Hydra, and I've shown you pictures.
Oh, I know. And because you ladies go so fast over stuff. I have to stop it so we can expand it.
So
there's a parasite egg.
Yes. So if
in
you take
the bioweapon, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I did this. I took some vials out, and I put a drop on a slide. I put it on the microscope under a white light, anywhere from 600 to 1,000 to 10,000 magnification. And I looked at it, and you can see the metallic structures, and you can see the graphene initially. But if you walk away for an hour under a hot white light of the microscope, the interaction of the heat of the white light and the graphene and the eggs, you'll come back to a hatched Hydra. And
stop.
The Hydra vulgaris is dangerous. It's chimerically spliced in with SARS, MERS, HIV, and AIDS. So these are actually patented bioweapons. The Hydra was developed in Kiev in the Human Genomics Study in 2000. And I'm not making things up. These are patented.
I'm not saying you are.
That Karen Kingston and I have actually looked at the patents.
It's horrible.
This is what's inside people.
Guys, that's why you get the point.
There is no choice. This is a bioweapon.
Bioweapon.
You do not put bioweapons into your body.
There's a section, and actually, remember, once again, guys, make sure you visit conservativebusinessjournal.com, podcast, click on that, the menu tab, podcast, library of episodes. You'll see Karen Kingston. She's been on my show twice. She was at one of the featured speakers, Witty People Fight Back event. It's 3 episodes. It's a total of 5.5 hours. You send it out to anybody you care about. Then, Betsy, you did a show, the top 10 deadly side effects of the jab. And then, Christa, way back when, the second show you were on, we talked about just the vaccine. This was back in when it first came out. And I remember what you said when you said, this is not a vaccine. This is before I even met you, Dr. Betsy. This is, not now your life changed forever. You don't sleep. You get text calls. It's nonstop, constantly going.
True.
It's amazing how God's lining people up. But I remember you said that from your background, Dr. Christian, chemistry and holistic practice, and with kids, you're never been pro-vax at all. And when this first came out, you're like, this is not a vaccine because it really is not a virus. So explain. And then when you hear this, what everything Betsy and Dr. Betsy and Karen, all the it's just, you get to the point right now, it's a weapon. It's not a choice. It is a weapon. That's why Fox gets on my 19th nerve, because every second they keep saying it's a choice, and that just manipulates people to get it. And that's why the letter M in communism is manipulation. They manipulate your mind. But so Christa, just go back to that, because one of the first articles we published for you was back last June, was about kids in a vaccine. Because we said they're probably going to go after kids within a year. It was within 6 months. But just talk about that, about why to you it's not a vaccine, and why you were against it from the beginning. As we're covering a lot tonight, kind of an overview of just the Biden regime and how deadly everything is.
You know, you hear vaccine, and traditionally a vaccine's always been something that, number one, has an antiviral property about it. Like, it prevents you from getting the disease. You know, so it will prevent you from getting whatever, you know, mumps, measles, rubella, chickenpox, whatever. And it'll have a level of protection where you don't get it. And then also it has a level of protection where it's not transmissible. And this never had, I mean, there's never even the intention of this, what they're calling a vaccine, to ever do either one of those things, ever. And, you know, for me, I think you and I have had this conversation quite a few times. And even back when it started with the vaccine, nobody from the very beginning ever talked about, what about everybody that was already infected that had natural immunity? I mean, any vaccine that's ever come out, ever, there has been an element of reliance on natural immunity to help build that immunity wall that enables a traditional vaccine to work. And it's still not mentioned. You still mention natural immunity to some people, and they, you know, it doesn't exist. And that, I think, from the very first second, that always bothered me. It's like, this is a joke. They're not going to tell us the truth about this, because what happened to everybody who already got sick and got better? Why? And I think I said to you, John, probably 10 million times, I live in Broward County, so every news and media outlet down here is horrible. And for I mean, a year and a half, they had the case ticker. How many cases? And it's like, well, I think that's fantastic. Look at all these people getting infected and still living. I mean, that's natural immunity. Look, that's wonderful.
That's Christa, what you're saying, please expand upon that, please. That's a huge guy. Pay attention to this, what Christa's saying. This is Dr. Christa. This is tremendous. This is something you can share with your family and friends. This is what we do. We give you information to save people. We're really saving people's lives, literally.
I would ask my husband, I'm like, all right, work the numbers. Like, how many, if we have 15,000 a day for X amount of days, how many people out of our population in this county, how many is that? You know, if you are infected and you supposedly you're infected, if you tested positive, and you are still alive and breathing, and you've survived it, you have natural immunity. You are actually part of that wall that is going to help any real or traditional vaccine work. You are very important to that. You are a very important part of the equation, because without you and without us who have natural immunity, there's no survival. Vaccines are omnipotent, and they can't cure everything. They rely on those who have natural immunity of stopping transmission, slowing it down, surviving, developing an immunity that weakens the virus, and blah, blah, blah. It's always been a crucial keystone to any vaccine working. And if you said it from the very beginning, you didn't know what you're talking about. And that always bothered me.
And then you talk about taking a stance.
And that's herd immunity.
Right.
And look at what happened with SARS-CoV-1 10 years ago. You know, we have 80% of the population in the world has long-lasting T-cell immunity to SARS-CoV-1 from 10 years ago. And how do we know that? We studied the T cells and the antibodies at 1 year, 5 year, 10 years out. So we know that natural, innate, long-lasting immunity to a lot of these viruses has occurred. And herd immunity is how we get through these viruses year after year after year. And we know that even the flu shot is a failure. They can't even get 30% effectiveness of a flu vaccine from year to year to year, because we don't need it. We have a God-given natural immune system and wonderful DNA and wonderful junk RNA to help us to build up that natural immune system, the T cells, the CD4, the CD8 killer cells. And that's proven in history and science.
Then you got to have some of Dr. Chris's banana ice cream on page 63. This is so good. I have it almost every night. Banana berry ice cream. Guys, you got to fuel your body. You got to get healthy. And I'm going to show a great video of Hallie and Steve, 81 and 73. This was made at our event, our We the People Fight Back event. It seems like a year ago. It was just 2.5 weeks ago. And Steve and Hallie beat our next We the People Fight Back event. I was up there in Ohio. I just sent to you, Betsy, the letter I wrote for Hallie. That went out in July. Just in July to 25 people. Now they got a huge group called America First Group in Ohio. And we were together in their journey, Dr. Christa, when Hallie transformed her entire health regimen. And we were around when she first met Steve, and Steve was on the other side, not eating well. Now was eating 99% well, 81 years of age. And then I believe they were targeted because I was going up there 2 weeks before I was to go there to speak at a Faith, Family, and Freedom Summit with an amazing team of champions in Ohio, Patriots, started by Steve and Hallie. All of a sudden, Steve got very sick. We were in the studio here. I called you at 2 a.m. in the morning, Betsy, get on the phone with Steve, get him out of the hospital because I said they're going to try to kill him. I want to show you a picture. I want to show you a video of Steve and Hallie that were just at our event 2.5 weeks ago, giving some words about the We the People Fight Back event. And then we're going to talk about that story about Steve and Hallie, and then we're going to wrap this up. What a great show, right, Christy? We kind of covered every spectrum of this. And then, Christa, I want you to share the story about when you threw a patient out like Pastor Greg Locke for wearing a mask. When she's out in front of you and you're like, take your mask off. Like, I'm going to keep my mask on. You can't wear a mask in my office. I'm going to talk about the story. You got to take a stance in life, guys. You have to take a stance. So this is Steve and Hallie. Tremendous, 81 and 73. There are people who, obviously, our event was standing room only sold out, but there were people who didn't come to our event because they were afraid to travel. You're afraid to travel and you're a conservative, they got you.
That's right.
I want to say it again. If you're afraid to do anything because of any of this, they've got you. This is a whole thing I went off about today in one of my interviews about communism. You should be living your life like as if none of this exists. And that's the problem. Some of you don't, but let me show you Steve and Hallie. This is great.
Keep getting better and better. People that come to share like mind and like heart, patriots. This is a great place to be. Great education, great fire, great spirit.
And we're talking not just the speakers, they are dynamite, but we're talking about just the people. It has been outstanding. I think the lion is discovering that they can roar, and that roaring that goes on, it's going to get louder and louder and more passionate. Hallelujah. Thanks, Lord. Thanks, John and Christy. Wow. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Tell you, that's why I wanted to finish with Stephen. How awesome is that to see it? 81 and 73. I mean, that is what America's about. They're patriots. I mean, look, it's good, Steve. The Lions were on at 81. Guess what? Steve's still alive today.
That's right.
2.5 weeks ago, he was in a room of two, and it got hot during the dinner, but the AC broke in front of the room. So it was warm. So we were sweating. We were breathing people's air, and he's alive, which just shuts the whole narrative down, you know. So Dr. Christa, two things. What goes through your mind seeing, Stephen Hallie from way back when Hallie transformed her health? Like, she looks like two different people. She really been a student. She's been on your email list for years. I mean, she really took on the whole food, plant-based lifestyle. You know, you talk a lot about live food and eat fruit and water. And guys, there's many shows. Christa's done a whole show about Oxygen Report. You got to watch all the replays. I wanted to get these two ladies together tonight just to unpack the friggin' nonsense going on within 1 week. But what goes through your mind seeing Stephen Hallie, 81 and 70, and knowing them? I mean, you know them for years.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, what you see is what you get with them. They're the most wonderful, genuine, kindest people that are walking on the earth. They really are wonderful. And it's amazing to see the strength that they have and the group that they put together just simply because they've had enough. And they're not really loud. They're not boisterous. They're not looking for attention. You know, they really didn't ask to be pushed to the forefront of anything, but they're doing it because of what they believe and their values that they hold so deeply and so dearly. And they care so much about everybody else around them. And it's amazing to watch. You know, we see people and we say, well, you know, that's inspiring. If they can do it, I can do it. And I think that they kind of embody that. Like, if they're willing, if they are willing to do what they're doing, because they don't have to, you know, they really don't, but they are for the well-being of the rest of us and for our children and our grandchildren, but they're willing to step up and have the courage and and to walk through this, like you said, like getting sick and all of that whole scenario that happened, and that just inspired them and pushed them to even push further. If they're willing to do it, then the rest of us definitely have a responsibility to do our part to really to save this country
And
to save.
there's no question they were targeted, because we were going to do an event. However, remember, there's people out there, high value targets. Stephen Halley making a difference in Ohio. 81. They've just crushed the narrative. They destroyed it. They started that group in July, just 6 months ago, whatever it is, 7 months ago. And look what's going on. I got a great email from her right before we began the show. Halley, they're rocking. And then before I turn it over to you, Dr. Betsy, Christa, share the story about the woman patient in front of you wearing a mask that time. You pulled the Pastor Greg Locke on him.
There's been a couple of Pastor Greg Locke incidents. The one that was best is I had a woman that came in that she always knew better than I did, and she was like morbidly obese, but she had a mask on and she asked me to wear one, and I said no, and I said, let's have a conversation about this, and she wasn't interested in the conversation, and I just simply said to her, we don't have to go any further. I'm not the person for you. You need to just leave. Like I don't want you here. I don't want your filthy mask here. I don't want your hands that touched your mask touching my whole office.
Good.
I really need you at this point. We're not going to go. This isn't going to work. It's time to, there's the door. You should walk back through it. And so that's happened. It's happened a couple times. Not too many, but it definitely has happened several times where people don't want to be educated. They want, and it's just an attempt to exert power. It's just an attempt to exert like a belief. And not in my office. Do it wherever else you want, but not in my office.
And that's what you guys, control your surroundings. Dr. Chris has been very blessed. We live in America. This country began for capitalism. It began one nation under God. Most of our lineage, our family will come from European nations to come to America so they can prosper. And that's what they're trying to shut down. But take your stand, control your business, control your life, control it. So Dr. Betsy, final question for you. Meeting Stephen Halley, you were very influential. You've saved many lives, but how awesome was it to spend time with them, get a hug from Steve, get a hug from Halley, and coming in from Ohio, and they're seeing you in Florida. They already got their 2 tickets to the next We the People Fight Back event. We should have the announcement probably be in the month of June, right, Christy? So we're going to make the announcement for the one in Florida. We're going to do one out of state also, but our Florida one, and Stephen Halley already made an investment in there. They have the tickets already. We'll be like almost 100% sold out as soon as I announce it for June. But Stephen Halley are part of our crew. How awesome was it for you to get that hug from Stephen Halley, Dr. Betsy? How great did that make you feel?
Tremendous. This is what I do my job for. The grace, the love, the compassion that they showed me, when all they did was talk on the phone multiple times to me, but to be able to stand face to face, and I'm a very humble person, but to be able to hug and cry together and hug each other, and the grace and love that they exuded throughout the entire room, from their own table to floating around the room to meeting other people. It was just pure grace. They are wonderful people, and they accept the responsibility to step up and to step out in faith and help other people to avoid what happened to Steve. And I didn't think Halley was going to make it through. I thought she was a little timid. I was very worried.
No.
And she turned into a lioness.
The lion.
It was wonderful.
Halley's
But
awesome.
it really touched my heart. And that's what I do this for. I don't do this for money. I don't ask for anything in return. I don't like gifts. I'm a very humble person. But to have a hug and to say thank you and to share a tear, worth it. 100% worth it.
And just found out we got Danny from Plant-Based Mafia's on the show tonight. I wasn't able to read all the comments tonight. We get this show. Danny, you're awesome. Plant-Based Mafia. Danny's the best. We all have to go there for dinner. Danny came out Tuesday night. Trump's Tuesday popped in. So we got all sorts of mafia, gangsters, Italians, Biden signs. Don't come in if you support. That's America. Take a stand, people. So my whole theme for tonight's show was to let you guys know we're in the greatest time ever. Big problem, big opportunity. And you want to be around the right people. I got one 60-second video to show, then we'll wrap it up. It's just a great video from the event. It's all the speakers. I think it's good. I like to conclude on this. This is what it's about. It's about being around great people in life.
think I'm frozen.
It's just us.
Well, Christa, I love your book. I finally got through it. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I wonder what happened to John. It was freezing up a little bit for me.
There he
I'm
is.
back. Here we go. I'm
He's
back. I
back.
heard you guys going.
You didn't trust us?
I have no idea what happened.
They took over the show.
Here, so here's my whole goal. I want to end with this. It was awesome. We got locked up because we had a big storm, right? Locked up with Doug Billings on stage screaming. So here we go. Ready? So let me just show this. This is because I think it's so important because, you know, all of you listening, sometimes you feel alone and you got to be around the right people. And, you know, tonight was just an epic show, kind of recapping all the nonsense going on. I mean, literally recapping just the nonsense in the last 7 days. So this is just a great montage of some great shots. And guess what? Everybody's still alive.
That's right.
Everybody's
True.
alive. America's great. One nation under God. In God we trust. You're here listening to this, guys. Share this episode. Make sure you guys do follow us on my channels. Obviously, if you guys know, on Rumble is CBJ Real News. Telegram, CBJ Real News. But Cloud Hub is rocking. CLOUTHUB. CloudHub.com. Just search CBJ Real News. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us. Every time I publish an article, you get notified. We published a bunch of content last 24 hours. And make sure you guys visit conservativemarketplace.com. Conservativemarketplace.com. Take a look at all the categories. I used to be able to read all the categories. Now I can't. There's too many of them. But make sure you look at health supplements. Take a look at the health supplements and get a hold of quercetin, NAC. And it's an hour and 15-minute show. We got to conclude. But Christa, give me 30 seconds on NAC.
30 seconds on NAC. It's been, you know, again, it's a rock star now, but it's been used for decades. It's been used in nebulizers. It's a great demumuculant. So any type of mucus buildup that you have, I've used it for years with people who have a lot of postnasal drip and a lot of mucus congestion. It's just a really powerful supplement. Very safe, very easily accessible. It's amazing. I mean, it's a great, again, it kind of, it signed for a long time and then it became part of the COVID protocol. So now it's everywhere.
And the NAC that's on conservativemarketplace.com, you ship from your office and you had it before COVID. You've had this product in your office for years, correct?
I've been using it for years. I've had it. Yeah. And the line that we carry, I mean, Pure Encapsulations, it's a great line. They've been producing it for years. They're one of, I think, like 3 manufacturers of it in the country. It was never very popular. But it's always been this effective. It's just never, you know, people never knew what it was used for. So yes, we ship it right from the office. It's a great quality product. It's, you know, they're all not made the same like we've talked about before, but it's a great product.
There's your model. Dr. Betsy has it in her hand. It's good. And that's why, like you said, the Walmart, I wouldn't buy anything from CVS. I mean, buying NAC from CVS, you're out of your freaking mind. They got red pill there, they got vax shots, and they got mass. Walmart supplements and CVS supplements are mass produced. And then Betsy, I'll give you 30, 60 seconds on quercetin, especially do the hydroxychloroquine comparison.
Oh, yes. So there's 2 great studies out showing double dose, either 600 twice a day or 800 twice a day, is as effective as taking hydroxychloroquine. And there are more studies looking into NAC and quercetin for treatment of viruses, not just COVID viruses. So I would like to hit home early treatment. get healthy and get early treatment. Stay out of the hospital, stay out of the urgent care, get on the supplements, quercetin, NAC, zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D, have a kit at home, have a nebulizer at home, have ivermectin at home, have hydroxychloroquine at home, Zithromax or doxycycline. Get ready.
Guys, it's and all the supplements, the quercetin, vitamin C, the zinc. I'm going to send out actually what you wrote up, Christa, because your presentation, Lisa asked for it, and they emailed that to Trump's therapy. I'm going to email that to our list, and in here everything's in there. It is so important, guys. Get yourself healthy and make sure. Remember, not all doctors and supplements are created the same.
That's very true.
And then all the other nutritional supplements like the Biomedic. You love the Biomedic, right, Dr. Christa? You moved a lot of that in your office, right?
Yeah, it's
For all
a
the
great
crappy food
product.
people eat.
And I love that and the chlorella. I mean, they're two great products. You know, they're very helpful. They're very beneficial.
And Corella, Corella helps to clean the blood, get rid of toxins. It's very beneficial. And that Purium product with the cracked Corella, as well as the Zinc Aid, using those together, that will get your immune system built up, and it'll stop viral entry into cells.
So important.
That's the name of the game. NAC, quercetin, zinc, cracked Corella. That's the name of the game. Prevent the virus from getting into cells and replicating.
And that's on the conservativemarketplace.com health supplement category under immune building system. Immune building system has cracked cell chlorella, fulvic zeolite, and zinc aid. So guys, any questions, feel free to call or text us at 561-847-3467. We're in this game for years. We haven't done this for just 6 months. I actually sent to Dr. Betsy when I first interviewed Mike Lindell. You were on that, Dr. Christa. I interviewed Mike back in July 2020. That's almost 19 months ago on Mike's book. All right. So I've been in this game for years. I can see through the frauds and the grifters in 2 seconds. Same with supplements and same with doctors. So Dr. Betsy Eads, Dr. Christa Kremensky, tremendous show. Thank you, ladies. You're awesome.
Thank you.
And
My pleasure.
And make sure you guys listen to all the past episodes. We have enough information out there right now, real information to save your family. Make sure you go to conservativebusinessjournal.com podcast, search out Betsy Eads, EADS, Dr. Christa Kremensky, KRZEM, comes right up, alphabetical order. Same thing with the app. Get them out. Same thing on Rumble, same thing on CloudHub. Guys, good night. God bless you. You're awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for supporting and patronizing. And it's on. Good night, guys. Thank you.